Welcome to StartupHakk. My name is Spencer Thomason. I am the CEO and co-founder of CleanRouter, as well as many other products. Here are some lessons that I've learned building a successful business while challenging startup norms. My challenge is to push you to rethink startup success. I have been a software developer for over 22 years. I'm married to my beautiful wife Carson and have 5 awesome kids. I started this channel to tell the stories I have about how we started a successful company, knowing nothing about how to start a company. Clean Technology is the parent company of CleanRouter, as well as many other technologies and products. This podcast is going to focus on the launch of CleanRouter. It is going to be about how we took this idea and passion and built something great. This is going to be a story, so make sure you go and check out previous episodes to understand all of the backstory. Welcome to StartupHakk. Welcome to StartupHakk. Today we're going to talk about having core values for your company. This is important no matter what size your company is. Even if your company is just yourself, if it's you and another person, if it's 5 people, 10 people, but especially as you start growing past 10 people, having a core values become extremely important because these become the driving factor and the personality of your company. So let's talk a little bit about some core values. I'm going to give you some examples of what we ran CleanRouter with and the 5 values that we use to grow CleanRouter. And all of Clean Technologies. So let's start with these and I'll give you some examples. Core values are super important. So let's give you the example of the 5 from Clean Technologies. The first one was give and take. This one went both directions because it was important that the company give and sometimes the company takes. So some weeks there's long hours. And then making sure that we give that comp time or giving that time back and flexibility when an employee needs times. And vice versa, it's important that an employee understands that sometimes they're giving and sometimes they're taking. Ultimately, this comes down to having integrity, and I required that we hired people with integrity so that that give and take was always a balance. But this was the first of our core values. The next one was do more with less. Let's face it, as a startup, you don't have a person for every role. You don't have every single supply you need. You don't have every single piece of software that would make the job ideal. And so there's a lot of times that you kind of have to do more with less. And this is true of every startup. I've worked in corporations that also up to 1,000 people. And there's still times that you just have to do more with less. And so this is a core value that I think is definitely the very lifeblood of entrepreneurship, but also this is just something that in general you should try to learn to do. It's a basic principle of frugality as well as other things. So do more with less. The next one is simplify. It really kind of goes along with the do more with less, but simplify is overall something that I think we tend to sometimes overcomplicate things. And so generally I've found that usually the most simple answer is the most elegant. Whether it's developing software, whether it's marketing, it generally seems like the simplest answer is usually the best answer. Usually also goes into the frugality, but it also just in general, every time we try to overcomplicate things don't work out as well. So I'm convinced that simplify becomes a very important one. Next is better, not perfect. This one is super important. Again, whether you're talking about marketing, whether you're talking about software, ultimately, if you wait till something is perfect, it's never going to be done. And so you will continue to sit there and thrash on things to get them perfect. But sometimes done is better than perfect. And this is where better, not perfect becomes an important part. In software especially, as you're building a product, get it out to the customers, because what you think is going to be important may not end up being all that important. Or if you think this feature is going to be super important, it might be an important feature, but it may be in a totally different way than you expect. So better, not perfect is generally true of pretty much everything. Get into the customer's hands, repeat, iterate, follow the lean cycle. So this is one of the important things that I've taught many entrepreneurs. MVP, get it to market, get it into customers' hands, iterate. So better, not perfect becomes a really important one. This even becomes true for process as well, because a lot of process we try to figure out and say, man, what's the ultimate thing, and I got to have 16 people for this. And sometimes you're like, you know what, the whole process isn't automated, someone might have to do a little extra manual, but overall, let's prove out the process first and then work to automate it. So even when we come down to human services and process, this becomes something very important. So better, not perfect.
Lastly, our last of our 5 core values was unparalleled service. And I truly believe this to be the case. I've found very few industries that quantity is more important than quality. In general, if you treat the customers like they're a quality customer and you're genuinely worried about those individual customers, that's ultimately going to give you the end result that you want. Sometimes this means giving a refund when you don't expect to give a refund. Because remember that if nothing else, the customer is then taking away from their experience with your company as, hey, they were really good to work with, even if their product wasn't a fit for me. And that's ultimately the thing. You're not a fit for every person. So understanding this and being willing to just even give a refund became important for it. So to reiterate, the 5 core values that we built our company on is do more with less, better not perfect, give and take, simplify, and unparalleled service. These are these 5 core values, and having core values for your company are critical. So remember that version 5 of the CleanRouter just dropped, so make sure that you get your family protected. Also remember to make sure that you protect your kids on the go with the ultimate parental controls with the CleanPhone. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to StartupHakk.